up, Doom Nation? This is Shayne Scagz, and we're here with another Doomed review of Loki Episode 4, The Nexus Event.
Good job.
Thanks.
So before we begin, don't forget to smash that like button, share our episode to your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on our audio platforms, leave us a review. It helps us with the algorithm. And you can also follow us on Instagram. The easiest way to follow us everywhere is just go to linktree.com/2doommen. So let's get started because this was a good episode.
It was so
and I'm
good.
excited. Let me fix my chair here. So let's start off with where the episode starts off, which is a bit of a surprise. It started off in Asgard.
I know when I first watched it, I was like, oh my god, that's Asgard. It
Yeah.
took me a minute, and then I was like, wait, nope, that's the bridge.
Yeah. And it was as Sylvie when she was a child, and she was taken by a squad of TVA agents that was led by Ravonna. She was like a TVA grunt.
She was still just a hunter at that point.
Right. Hunter, that's a good way to put it. Is that what they really call them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sylvie is, she's just a little girl. She's brought before the TVA judge, and then she manages to escape. And she kind of starts her lifelong journey on the run from the TVA. It was interesting, too, because there was a different like Ravonna obviously wasn't the head judge
She
or whatever.
must
There
have
was some other
still-
guy. I was wondering who that is.
Probably the same person that she is now, but then.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I wasn't sure where they were going with the whole Asgard thing at first. And then once I saw like the little kid, I was like, oh, that's her.
Yeah.
This is
me
her
too.
getting taken for the first time. And just going like little theory wise and, Twitter searching, people are saying, most likely what it was and the reason she was taken is because she's too good. She wasn't mischievous.
I see. So she wasn't mischievous enough to be a Loki.
So they had to reset the timeline to make
Interesting.
her be the Loki that she's supposed to be.
Okay. That's an interesting theory. Maybe we'll see that play out later on in later
Possible
episodes.
because when she's like playing, she's trying to save Asgard, and like the Valkyries are coming in. So the
Right.
Valkyries still existed at that point because
Okay.
they were like decimated out in Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, I didn't even notice that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Twitter man.
So the next scene, we see Ravonna's going up the elevator, and we get our first kind of glimpse at the timekeepers.
Yeah,
So that was pretty cool. I'll just keep going here. So Mobius and Ravonna, they then have a conversation regarding the timekeepers, which is also very interesting. And the TVA agent, I can't remember her name.
C20.
Right. And she was enchanted by Sylvie, and we learned that she died. Now, right
Yep.
after her enchantment drove her mad, essentially.
That's what they say.
And we're starting to see the cracks now in the TVA scheme. And even Mobius is starting to get curious as to exactly
Yeah,
what's
like
going
he's
on.
like, where is she? Like, why can't I talk to her now?
Yeah.
What? Oh, she's dead. Even he was like, what? Yeah, she went crazy after everything, but she was fine. Nope, she's crazy. She died.
Right. So was the other Minuteman, the woman. She was also now like worried
She's
about her.
More. So she was fine in the beginning. It was
B-15.
we're
Agent
gonna
B-15.
we're gonna jump ahead a little bit. It was when like after they took them, B-15. When she went to go see
Yeah.
Sylvie was all wet, and she was like, "Who was in here?" And they said B-15. She was like,
Right.
"Well, she's been compromised."
Yeah. Right. So yeah, we skipped ahead a little bit. It's okay. So next we head back to Lamentis 1, and Loki and Sylvie are awaiting their doom.
I just want to point out,
Yeah.
I was completely correct. Literally, they were about to die, and they were like, "Nope, oop."
Yeah.
Pulled through the
Yeah, we
doors.
were. We both said that we figured Mobius would come or they would come.
Like
and-
somebody's like,
Yeah.
obviously they're not gonna die, but it was just like the exact moment and the way I pictured it is how it happened.
Yeah.
2 doors are gonna open, and it's just gonna be like. just
And the
dragged back in.
interesting thing about this scene is Loki and Sylvie share like this almost
Moment.
tender moment between each other where it
That set
seems
off a
and
Nexus
that
event.
seems right. It caused like a spike variance in the timeline, which that alerted the TVA to like where
It's
they
not
were.
supposed to happen.
Right. So I put here, it seems like love is not a dagger, but a Nexus event after all.
Yeah, in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It took me. It wasn't until they like pointed it out that I wasn't sure what it was that set it off. But I just find it a little weird. Loki's literally in love with himself.
Yeah. funny. Funny too, but I think Mobius says it later on in the episode, like, you narcissistic bastard or something like that.
Literally.
You would be in love with yourself. So after they are apprehended, Loki's thrown into a time cell, which was pretty funny, and he's kicked in the nuts like 1,000
By
times
Sif.
in a row by
That was
Sif.
that was a nice little
Yes,
cameo
played by Jamie Alexander. She's the same actress who played her in the
in the
older
Thor movie.
Thor movies. So that was pretty cool. A little cool
Yeah,
cameo
that was a
there.
nice little like throwback
Yeah,
to her because I kind of forgot about her.
and she kept kicking him in the balls because he apparently cut her hair.
Yo,
The god
he
of
like
mischief
chopped
would,
off all of
right.
her hair,
The
but
god
only
of
half
mischief
her
would
head.
do something like that.
Oh yeah, he even said it. He goes, "I just thought it would be funny."
Right. And now again after this, we see Mobius and Ravonna, and they're again having a conversation, this time regarding Sylvie, and it's becoming extremely evident at this point. Mobius is like weirded out by
Yeah,
everything.
he's becoming very aware that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I see you have it there. We didn't point it out. Right before he threw Loki into that time loop, Loki said the TVA is lying to
Right.
you. So as much as he doesn't want to believe anything Loki says, it just it was playing in his head.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty well written, especially, and the acting's phenomenal. The acting between Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, like Loki and Mobius, they have such a good like repertoire in the show already. Like you could tell they're friends.
They have that like weird
Connection.
offset friend connection where
Yes.
it's like Mobius doesn't want to be friends with him, but
He kind of
also
is.
is.
Yeah. So he does. I guess it does when Loki says that, it does kind of like spark something more in his head. And like you
so
can see
it's
throughout this entire episode, Mobius building up
becoming
to,
more and more aware of
Yeah.
the situation going on within the TVA.
and honestly, it's been happening throughout the entire season too. Loki's been
Loki's
having
been
like
very
a lot
aware
of
of
this,
like how is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
A lot
Like
of-
where did it start?
It's very surprising. A lot of like very philosophical almost conversations between
Mm-hmm.
the two of them in the beginning, and now it's starting to really come to a head here. Let's see. So Loki's pulled out of his time cell eventually, and he's interrogated by Mobius. And this is also a really good scene because they keep trying to manipulate each other.
Because they don't want to like believe the other.
Yes,
Like,
and
especially it was like Mobius being like, "Oh, Sylvie's dead," and you can see it.
you can see it in his face.
In his face.
Yeah,
And that's when it becomes apparent to Mobius, like, "Oh no, he loves her."
right. I was gonna say that's where it becomes evident that Loki does definitely have feelings for Sylvie.
But I think it's also Mobius just really trying to figure out what the end plan is, because I think in the beginning of that conversation he was very convinced that Loki had this whole thing planned out the entire time.
Right, that he's convinced that he does.
But he literally has no
No,
idea
he was
what
just-
the plan was. He's just followed her into the
Right.
time hole and was like, "Yep, we're going on an adventure."
Yep. And this is where Loki drops the bomb on Mobius and tells him that all the TVA agents are variants. And then he drops a huge truth bomb on Mobius, which I'm going to play for you guys.
You know, all the liars in this place, and there are a great many. You're the biggest.
Why? Because I lied about your girlfriend?
Oh, no, that I can respect. I mean the lies you tell yourself.
And now, at the same time where that whole interrogation was going on between the two of them, Agent B-15 was, this is what we were talking about before, asked Sylvie to show her the truth about,
Because she was convinced at first that Sylvie just put random thoughts into her head.
right,
And Sylvie was like, "No, I can't make up thoughts. I just use what you already have."
right.
And they go back to Roxcart during the Alabama hurricane, and she gets to see all of her memories, and she was like, "I was happy."
Yeah.
So it seems like the TVA just, I don't know how, we still haven't figured it out how they're picking who their variants are,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not people that are like really causing problems. It seems, granted, we
Right.
didn't really get to see
Right. What made all them
B-15's
variants?
life versus like C-20. We did see she liked to go out. She liked to drink margaritas. We didn't really know anything
Yeah.
about B-15.
And even, I guess you could say back with Mobius, this is what the jet skis are about. There's
And
some
even
sort
he-
of distant memory of his,
Again,
which we said.
Fast forwarding a little
yeah,
bit, he definitely had some memory with the jet ski.
Right. Like we said in a previous review, he's definitely like from the 90s or something, and just was
When
a guy
those were
that
the
liked.
craze.
Yes, exactly. So that looks like we were right about that. Ravonna is again questioned by Mobius about the Minuteman and her death. And this is where he switches out the temp pad.
I didn't catch that the first time I watched it. I was like, what is he? Is he like putting a coaster down? I don't understand what's happening.
Right.
But he's like being sneaky about it. It wasn't until, he gets to that library or whatever. And I was like, oh.
Right. And that's where he watches actually the footage on the temp pad and sees
C20 saying it like, I
had a life.
I had a life. I had friends. I remember that place. Like, were variants. And Rona was like, nope, cut the tape.
Yeah. And I think at this point now, right, like Mobius is like, okay, Loki was right.
Yeah.
And I have to
that's
do
when he
something
was
about
like,
it.
Yep, I believe her. I believe him.
So that sparks, I guess you could say, Mobius to go now and like free Loki from his time cell.
He's like, well, I gotta go find Loki, and they start having a whole conversation with each other.
And when they come out, this was honestly a sad scene. I almost
God.
cried. But they come out of the time cell and they're ambushed by Ravonna and other Minutemen, and Mobius gets deleted.
He gets pruned.
Yeah, pruned. Yeah, I was legitimately upset.
I was not expecting that.
So neither was I. He's been such a good, funny, likable character throughout the whole series.
But who knows? He'll probably
Right,
come back.
I know. But at the time, yeah, we'll get more into that as we get towards the end of the review. Let's see.
From there, that's when
they go up in the
Ravonna
elevator.
takes Loki and Sylvie to the elevator.
This is where Ravonna was asked by Sylvie actually, what was my Nexus event? Like, why did you take me out of where I was when I was a kid?
So I just don't know how to feel about Ravonna, especially within this scene specifically, because she's like, "Do you remember like taking me?" And she was like, "Yeah." What was my next? Would it make it? Doesn't make a difference now.
Yeah.
But what was it? I don't remember. She definitely remembers, obviously, because just the way she said it with a smile on her face because she knew Sylvie wasn't looking at her.
Yeah, the way I'm looking at this now is like she's a villain, Ravonna. She's cold, she's evil, she's heartless, does not care.
Or I'm convinced she really thinks this is what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, maybe she's convinced, like, Sylvie's really going to, like, mess up the timeline. Like, she's brainwashed enough to really believe that this is what... Because she said she went up earlier and spoke to the timekeepers earlier in the episode.
Right, we saw that kind of.
It's possible that she actually really does believe this is what it is, but it's really hard to tell. She's not really giving much away.
It is. I just like, the first thought that came to my mind was like, ugh, what a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, how cold, you know, because we saw Sylvie as a little child.
Like, you literally just took a child.
And then hearing her about how she was on the run her entire life and, like, she grew up in Apocalypse. It's like, it's so sad.
But that's what makes me wonder, like, and unfortunately we don't find it out this episode, like, Sylvie was in Asgard. That's where she's supposed to be.
Right.
From what we know.
Yeah, she actually is Loki, basically.
Yeah,
that's confirmed, I guess you could say at this point.
It's mostly been confirmed, I think, in this episode that is Loki.
Right.
Because I can't think of the exact... I think just her being in Asgard just solidified that this is who it is, unlike all the theories that it was the Enchantress.
Right. I think that we could put that to bed, maybe. I see that's like a big thing people keep talking about.
Yeah, I think it's just the look, and then she enchants
She's
people.
Loki, but she was taken as a child and has like a way different life.
She never denied being Loki.
Yeah, that's true.
She just never outright said it.
Yeah. So our next scene is finally the big reveal, right? Loki and Sylvie are brought before the Timekeepers. And here's going to be my only criticism of the entire episode. The scene was very difficult to hear what the Timekeepers had to say.
I keep my captions on because I am like practically deaf. I can't tell you exactly what they said because the second time I watched it, I unfortunately didn't have captions on. But that reveal was, I want to say it was slightly disappointing.
Kind of.
I think I don't know what I expected, but I think I expected more than what we got.
I just was frustrated because of the sound. Like I said, there was like an echo in the background.
Because it was like a giant cave.
So I'm going to play this real quick, actually. I'm going to play it back and let's see if we could make out what they even say. So could you guys. If you guys could figure out what it is they say, you know, let us know.
Gracious timekeepers, as promised, the variants.
After all your struggle, at last you've arrived before us.
What do you have to say for yourself before you meet your end?
that the only reason you brought us here? To kill us? I've lost track of the number of times I've been killed, so go ahead. Do your worst.
Oh no, I don't think you believe that. I think you're scared.
No, Variant, you're nothing but a cosmic disappointment. Delete them.
So yeah, especially the
Just the middle one is the one that you couldn't understand for the most part.
Right.
The beginning it was like, at last, the variants, like it's been so long. Obviously, they're saying something about killing them, but it's so raspy and
Right.
like whispered.
yeah, and like echoey. The guy on the right, the timekeeper that's on the right of the three of them, his one like little line, I couldn't understand anything he said whatsoever. He was like, I was just like, all right.
It's just so raspy sounding. I also didn't expect. I don't know what I expected them to look like, but it
Wasn't like that. So after this, as you know, most of you might know by now, spoiler warning, a big
this
fight
point.
breaks out as Agent B-15 shows up, and they behead the timekeepers. I forget who does it. I think Sylvie.
So B-15 comes in, throws Sylvie, like,
Her
obviously
sword.
that's where B-15 went, because after that they went to look for her, went to Ravona's office, grabbed Sylvie's sword, threw it to her. Fight ensues, she stabs a couple Minutemen, and she throws the sword, and it chops off the middle one's head.
Yes, and we learn that they are
androids.
androids, which is funny because in order to get into the TVA, you have to be scanned, and if you're an android or
be
a
a
robot,
robot.
you'll be vaporized. But the
But obviously the
timekeepers are
timekeepers, so
robots.
maybe it's to make sure that no other androids get in.
Maybe.
But again, it's just one of those things where I'm like, who's in charge?
Right.
then?
So it was all we
Like,
were
are
right.
they-
We were right. It's all a lie. The timekeepers are not real. They're just robots.
But that's what makes me so. Obviously, it's not Ravonna running it because
Is it? Isn't it? Maybe.
I don't think so because she was a Minuteman in the very beginning. So
Maybe she took over and
maybe she did take over, but then that leaves who started it.
So I'm going to. We're now on episode 4. My causal time loop theory is still alive because
You're still convinced it's Loki?
yes, it could still be Loki because now we see the timekeepers were just robots and some sort of charade. Who the god of mischief is great at playing charades on people. It could still be Loki in some sort of causal time loop where he's in the future and he's running the TVA and he needs to bring himself through the paces to get to the point where he, creates the TVA so he could stay alive or something like that. I don't know.
It's
So
Miss Minutes.
causal time loop, my theory's still alive.
It's Miss Minutes.
You think it's Miss Minutes? Right. She's been
She
absent
hasn't
since
been
like the first,
around,
first or
and
second episode.
maybe she is a being, and she's the one controlling it. Because who's gonna take a little cartoon clock serious?
True, maybe.
I don't know.
Okay, so is that your theory?
That's
that
my
it's
slight
Miss
theory.
Minutes?
I was talking to Danny about it earlier. He thinks it's Kang the Conqueror.
That's like a fucking comic book spoiler. Sorry for cursing, but that's just like a comic book spoiler that
I don't know
Yeah.
anything about the
Yeah,
comic
I
books.
don't know.
I don't know
We'll say.
anything about Kang the Conqueror.
I think okay, so since you brought that up, I think people were saying the timekeeper is Kang the Conqueror because the center timekeeper
Kinda
looked
like him.
like him, but as you can see now, that's not the case. So
I remember when I
don't know if
first saw the wooden things. I thought the one in the middle kind of looked like Vision,
yeah.
and I think it was just the thing in the middle.
Imagine
of his
that.
head.
That would be crazy.
Obviously, it wasn't going to be Vision, but it just kind of looked like
Mm-hmm.
him. So I was like, maybe they're just messing with me, but I don't know.
Maybe. So they kind of win this fight against everybody that's in there, and Loki seems ready to tell Sylvie how he feels about her, and that he's unexpectedly pruned from Ravonna from behind, and I'm just like,
Ew.
no.
When he was he hesitated and then he grabbed her shoulders, and I was like, is he about to kiss himself? Where is this
I thought
going?
he was gonna, yeah.
And then it just started from the middle, and I was like, no, you can't do that to me. It's only the 4th episode, but
I know.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Loki never dies.
And I know that's true.
But still, in that moment, it's just kind of
Didn't they say that in the episode?
he was like, I've died so many
So many
times, I've
times.
lost count. Just do it again.
Right. That's right. He says that right to timekeepers. Sylvie grabs Ramona and is basically like, I want to know everything. So I'm assuming in the next couple episodes, there's going to be some sort of
Next
interrogation.
episode's definitely going to either start where we're going to get to at the end credit scene ends, which I'm so happy there's finally an end credit
Yes,
scene.
finally.
Or it's going to start exactly where Sylvie's
Ravonna.
holding her basically hostage with
Yeah.
a pruning thing.
So we'll see. That's the end of the normal part of the episode, and then finally, like you said, there's an after credit scene. Well, halfway through credit scene, and this one's pretty cool. I'm gonna play it for you guys again.
This is hell. Am I dead?
Not yet. But you will be, unless you come with us.
And Loki reappears, and he wonders if he's dead.
He was
and,
like, is this hell? He always thinks he's going to hell,
yeah.
which, you know.
And this is where 3 Loki variants answer him and say he's not, but
So-
he soon will be if he doesn't come with them.
I just want to point out there's 4.
4, sorry, yes, there's an alligator, right, or
There's a
something?
crocodile Loki.
Loki.
There's one guy with a hammer. There's a kid holding a crocodile with the Loki helmet on it. It took me like the second watch to realize that.
Yeah.
And there's like an old man in like a
really
Halloween costume
bad
version of
costume, yeah.
Loki. So
We're getting into now like the multiverse of madness stuff
yeah,
from Doctor
I was
Strange.
just
I don't
like,
know
what is
what is going
happening?
on. Yeah,
But I love the crocodile. I don't know much about him yet, but I love him already. But
there's only 2 more episodes left. I
I
need
know.
more of these. These guys seem like they're gonna be interesting characters.
what it makes me wonder is if you get pruned, do all the pruned beings end up in the same place?
Right, it seems something like that. So maybe Mobius is not dead. Maybe he'll run into
Just
Mobius in this
more-
pruned
maybe his
place.
like previous variant that probably got pruned before
Right.
is stuck there now.
So, well, yeah, well, remains to be seen. We'll see in future episodes. I know there's, from the promos, it looks like Loki's running for mayor or something.
I always saw
Yeah,
that one, so who knows? He
That's
might be
coming up, it looks
He might
like.
be running for mayor of the Lokis.
Right, maybe.
Or
I think it's gonna be great to pass the last 2.
maybe Mobius is like that meme I sent you, and it's just all the different versions of
Yes,
Owen Wilson.
of him, of Owen Wilson. Yeah, from all his movies, that would be. Maybe we'll finally get a wow. We'll
Maybe
say. Yeah,
maybe it won't be Mobius, but it'll be one of the other variants.
maybe. So what do you So that's the end of the episode, right? What do you want to give it? Out of 10.
I say a 9. I think it was a very good episode. It gave us a lot more information while also still holding back a little bit of information because obviously they're not going to give you everything in one episode. And it gets that one extra point because it had an end credit scene.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.9. I thought it was almost a perfect episode, the best episode of the season, definitely. It's only losing 0.1 because of the audio quality with the timekeepers. I thought was terrible.
That's true.
And it was distracting. I was trying, this is major. Here are the timekeepers. I finally get to hear from them, and I couldn't understand what they were
Can't
saying.
understand a word they're saying.
And
For
I'm not-
robots, you think they
yeah.
have better quality voice boxes.
And that was a good idea for you to put on the subtitles, but I'm not the type to put subtitles on for shows. So
I'm awful with my hearing, and I always need to know what's being said because it was like last week. We kept thinking it was a time pad, but it's a tem pad. There's just all these different words that they have that I may get wrong, and I'm just like not partially deaf, but I can't hear very well.
I hear you. I hear
It
you.
helps me hear better.
Okay, fair enough. So my final thought is, we kind of touched on this already, but if the timekeepers are not real, who really is the main villain, I guess you could say, of this story?
So right now it's definitely Ravonna, but she's definitely working for somebody.
Yeah.
It's not her. She's like second in command.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody definitely controlling the timekeepers, and it goes back to me thinking she might really be convinced that a lot of it is real.
This will be a
But,
come to Jesus moment almost.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, oh my god, but it was her not really having a reaction to the timekeeper getting his head chopped off.
True.
But I think she was also like
Knocked
partly
down.
unconscious
Yeah.
because Sylvie beat the crap out of her.
Yeah, she did. So I guess we'll have to see, I kind of like that we don't know who the villain is yet. That means these last 2 episodes.
It's definitely going to be at like the
gonna
end of the last
It'll be
episode.
very interesting. Although I'm still nervous that there's not enough time in this series. There's only 2 more.
Well, who knows how long the next 2 episodes are going to be, because, they don't like to be consistent with how long their episodes are, because
Yeah.
last week it was like a 30-minute episode. This week we got like a 45-minute episode, not
Right.
counting like the credits. So it really couldn't go anyway. We might get a full episode, because that's how WandaVision was. The last 2 episodes were like an hour long.
Yeah, hopefully.
So it might be like that. Granted, WandaVision did have more episodes. But villain reveal will probably be at the very end of the last episode, and the episode ends, and we won't see that villain again.
Or
until the
hopefully
next
hopefully
movie.
just the next episode, because to do it in 1 episode, not good enough for me.
It,
Ain't gonna
it
cut
really
it.
just kind of depends on how they go about revealing everything.
Yeah, could be her too. Like I said, maybe she is the evil
Could
mastermind
be her,
behind
but
all this.
I really don't think it's her.
Yeah, I don't either, but we'll see. Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up from the episode? Any theories of yours?
Miss Minutes is still my theory.
Okay. The arch villain of the whole thing is a little clock.
It's the little clock. It is the little clock. No. Somebody's obviously controlling Miss Minutes too. So, because, she has her little preview video of, the rules of the TVA, but she also was helping Loki learn. So she is like a being.
Right.
Like she's
like an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something's either controlling her or, she's controlling
Yeah,
everything.
maybe. All right, everybody. That's our review of episode 4.
Yep.
Don't forget again to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Apple Podcasts, etc. And we'll be back again for episode 5 next Wednesday.
Bye.
Later.